The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect.
6 and 90D, which will be taken up together. Then items 27, 2, 7, 10, 28, and 47, followed by item 51, and finishing with item 90G, followed by the remaining items not held by the board and general public comment. Before we begin, Executive Officer, please read the call-in information that was also provided on the agenda and explain our speaking rules.
Members of the public wishing to participate remotely, as indicated on the agenda, please call 877-226-8163 and use participant code number 1336503. Members of the public participating remotely and in the boardroom, you will have the opportunity to address the board throughout the meeting. You will receive 1 minute.
As well as all of our speakers, and I will first turn it to Supervisor Barker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And actually, I've got remarks and then I have a question just to get some clarification. But I appreciate, Madam Chair, your partnership on both of these homeless items before this board today. For those of you that might not know, Supervisor Horvath and I are members of the Executive Committee on Regional Homeless Alignment. The Executive Committee has members from the City of Los Angeles, and all cities throughout the county are represented at that table. We consistently meet to discuss effective homeless solutions for issues impacting our county. Our city partners on the Executive Committee elevated concerns about the region's responsiveness to the increase in inclement weather we've seen unfold for this last year. We've experienced wildfires and unrelenting heat waves, especially in the 5th District. Temperatures have exceeded 115 degrees in the Antelope Valley for a stretch of several days. The county and cities of Lancaster and Palmdale had cooling centers available, but availability was limited. The hours of operation do not directly fit the needs that exist. And as we enter this fall and winter seasons, more tough weather conditions will impact our communities, including rain and freezing temperatures that can threaten the lives of people living on our streets. While cooling centers and winter shelters have been a good first start, we need to take steps and make our efforts more in line with what the need is, and keep evolving our approach to help shield vulnerable populations from life-threatening weather events. Because of this, I believe we need to have emergency climate shelters established across the county that can be available 24/7. The vision behind these climate shelters is straightforward. Provide our most vulnerable populations a safe place to find relief from the increasingly harsh weather conditions our county is facing. The motion today, item 26, tackles this challenge by directing our county homeless initiative to work alongside our municipal partners to identify and establish emergency climate shelters in each of our 8 service planning areas. To be clear, this work should include identifying opportunities to develop new sites and leveraging existing shelter sites so that we can augment existing capacity during severe weather events.
Excuse me, you are disrupting the meeting. This is your second warning. This is your final warning. We acknowledge you, we see you, and we do need to continue on with our agenda. We need to continue with our agenda. If you continue to speak out, we were going to ask you to leave the chambers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think, okay. So as I was saying, my motion today, item 26, tackles this challenge by directing our county homeless initiative to work alongside our municipal partners to identify and establish emergency climate shelters in each of our 8 service areas. And I want to really emphasize this because I know that there's been some questions. To be clear, this work should include identifying opportunities to develop new sites and leveraging existing shelter sites so that they can augment existing capacity during severe weather events. In addition to establishing new climate shelters, we should also look at shelter sites that already exist under LASA's current portfolio. We should explore using common areas for additional emergency bed capacity during rain and extreme heat and cold. No space should be underutilized when the lives of our most vulnerable are on the line. I'm also proud to serve as a co-author to Madam Chair Horvath's Emergency Response Center item. This will strengthen the much-needed coordination and support to ensure that the county does its part in working with our 88 cities in coordinating outreach, encampment resolutions, public works operations, shelter occupancy, and cross-jurisdictional coordination. Under the January 10th, 2023 Emergency Homelessness Declaration that this board approved, there was a clear vision for the county to consolidate and streamline departmental coordination. While we have made progress in breaking down the silos that existed within county departments by increasing our collaboration with the 88 cities via the Pathway Home and Inside Safe encampment resolution programs, we still need to enhance our emergency responsiveness. The Emergency Response Center helps centralize the work of various county departments and bridges communication with our 88 municipal partners. And I want to thank many of the cities for their input in this discussion. And I know that Council Member Nithya Raman is going to be on her way down, but I want to thank her. She serves as Vice Chair and a representative for the City of Los Angeles on the Executive Committee and has played a crucial role in collaborating with county offices to bring these motions before us today. I also want to acknowledge some key elected leaders from cities in my district for elevating the need for enhanced coordination surrounding climate shelters. Mayor Pro Tem Richard Loa from the City of Palmdale made sure that Executive Committee was aware of the unique needs of the North County. This region saw the most extreme heat waves and temperatures consistently over 100 degrees during the summer. I'm proud to represent Palmdale and Lancaster, where I can truly say they've been leading efforts to bring more shelter and housing online to support people experiencing homelessness in the Antelope Valley. Palmdale recently partnered with the county to conduct a Pathway Home operation where we successfully engaged and brought in more than 30 individuals, 21 dogs, 4 cats, plus we moved 20 RVs, 9 vehicles, 1 boat and trailer, while removing approximately 2,200 cubic yards of debris. This type of success is only possible when we work alongside our cities, partnering to provide shelter and housing for those who have nowhere to go. And I want to thank Mayor Becky Shevlin from the City of Monrovia, who hosted a successful Pathway Home operation alongside the county and Volunteers of America. Becky also voiced concern that we have not been able to successfully secure an augmented winter shelter site in Spot 3, the San Gabriel Valley, something I have concerns with as well. During extreme rainstorms, it is very common for the San Gabriel Valley riverbed to experience intense flooding. This jeopardizes the safety of those that are living there. Through these motions, I believe we can establish a more collaborative and cohesive emergency system with our city partners to provide the life-saving resources Los Angeles County residents deserve. I ask each of my colleagues on this board to support these items. I don't know if you want to say something before I ask a question. Okay. So, first of all, Carter, thank you for being here on and nice to meet you. I know that great work is being done by the CEO, HI, Municipal Relations team, and they are doing work to bridge.
Referred to as higher opportunity areas or neighborhoods are looked at first for these climate shelters, since there is a potential for people staying and living there for more time than our current temporary shelters allow. Overall, I want to ensure that these reports include designs and models that increase the likelihood of people saying yes to coming inside. The reason this is important to me is because this is a high resource project in terms of people, time, and money, and I want to make sure that any shelters the county continues to support are the ones that people will actually come to and stay in and receive services in. With this motion, we are delegating authority without knowledge of costs or implications to other programs, and I'm interested in understanding a proposed decision-making process for the siting, acquisition, and allocation of resources. Again, I've got a couple of questions. Number one, how will these shelters, given the current cost of operating winter shelters, actually increase our bed capacity and not make it more costly to keep shelters open?
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Operations Center, where we did that first locking arms, and the mayor declared a state of emergency for homelessness for the city of Los Angeles. And then when Supervisor Horvath took the gavel as our fearless chair, you also then declared a state of emergency for homelessness for the county of Los Angeles. And I think while there's still certainly a lot of work to be done, I think we've made significant progress in not only addressing the needs of the in-house, but working to better the quality of life for all residents in LA County.
I really want to thank the panel and also Councilwoman Nithya Raman, who's really been an outstanding leader on this issue for many years, and happy to share jurisdictions that overlap. And we've had many discussions about homelessness, encampments, and the rights of the unhoused. And I also want to thank Mayor Bass, because she also helped to lead, I think, on this motion, item 26. I want to thank the author and the co-author for bringing it forward. But I do have some concerns too that were already raised. And I mean, we've had these conversations, I know, over the past couple of years of how do we engage our other 70 or so cities that refuse to acknowledge that this is not just their problem. This is a bigger, it's all of our problem, our responsibility in some way. And that sometimes I often get the call that, well, we put in money, but we're not getting anything. But on the other hand, when we ask them, or I ask them, what are you ready to do to stand up? They say, oh no, we can't have an interim housing, or we can't have a room key or a home key here. We can't even have senior affordable housing. I've sat on this dais and I know there's some of the cities that we represent that have projects that were beginning and then they were pulled off because of pressure, because of community pressure. And I'm going through that now in one of my unincorporated areas now, where we are converting a room key into a permanent home key in the unincorporated area of Hacienda Heights. It actually started under Supervisor Hum, which was a great idea at the time because it was during COVID. And now we're going to see more units there, maybe 100 or so, and that whole place converted into a secure location with safety, security, wraparound services, and all of that. What I think is missing sometimes is the picture of what it looks like when you identified the individual, when you met them on the street or wherever it was, and then the steps that went through to carry them out. And I know we have a lot of those untold stories, and somehow we're not catching the fire on that. And I think we all have to do a better job. Our communications, our HIT, but more importantly, have, how could I say, truth sayers, people that will speak the truth with credibility. And I know I've run into several of them at some of our units, at the interim housing that we have over on Vignes, the Hilda Solis. I've seen people's lives transformed. And when you hear their stories are, again, as you know, very compelling. And not everyone has had the same experience. Some people do need treatment, severe acute assistance, and that's a different type of health treatment. And sometimes even the interim isn't sufficient for that. So I do believe in the dashboard. I do believe in coordinating information, which is the second motion that we're also talking about. Being able to make the assessment that Councilwoman Nithya Raman brought out. Okay, if you can transfer someone who needs more acute assistance or one that doesn't need acute but can be moved into another place.
We past each other or not being aware of what's going on, and this will be an opportunity to kind of bring that together. I would say this is, also, I envision it sort of like the COVID emergency model. When the COVID emergency was declared, it certainly looked to those of us who are watching what the county was doing, that it wasn't just Dr. Ferrer, on a daily press conference, but there was a coordinated effort within the region, bringing regional partners together in a center where people were
making sure that she is in the coordination loop as well. I just want to plead and ask that we make sure that we keep up the pace with the work that you all have been able to do in our unincorporated communities. That this new coordination doesn't come at the expense at the pace with which we have finally gotten to in terms of addressing our unhoused family, friends, and neighbors and RVs in those communities. I'm going to make that public plea. And that as we talk about trend, we are reporting, per spa, per district, in terms of the data collection, so we can really track and understand what cities and who aren't stepping up and those who are. And that as we talk about wanting to make sure that it's a regional strategy, that we have the data that shows us that it is indeed.
Our first participant is Diego Rodriguez. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Diego Rodriguez, and I represent ALMA, an organization dedicated to supporting our community's most vulnerable members. I'm here to express my strong support for item 26. As a proud resident of the San Gabriel Valley, I have witnessed firsthand the commitment of every series as El Monte, Pomona, Baldwin Park, Montebello, and now Azusa. They are supporting our unhoused neighbors. These municipalities have taken critical steps, even in the face of opposition from their own residents, to address the homelessness crisis effectively. However, unfortunately, some cities have hindered progress by blocking affordable housing projects and opposing Project One Key, for example, a vital initiative that provides life-saving assistance to those experiencing homelessness. Research and best practices have shown that homelessness is a challenge that no single city can overcome alone. We need a unified regional approach where more cities collaborate and share the responsibility of providing shelter.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Joshua Clayton. Your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Item 7, providing our county libraries with mental health clinicians to help the thousands of people.
That item is later in our agenda. Excuse me, that item is later in our agenda, so we'll put you back in queue for item 7, and we'll go to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Our next participant is Bonnie Sharp. Your line is open. If you're muted, please unmute and speak directly into the phone. You may begin.
Hi, actually, I was in queue for item 27.
Okay, item 27 is next, so we'll put you back in queue and we'll go to our next speaker. We are on items 26 and 90D. Moderator, next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Collin Campbell. Your line is open. If you're muted, please unmute and speak directly into the phone. You may begin.
Yes, this is agenda 26. This is for the ECRC.
Yes, items 26 and 90D. Yes, thank you.
Yep. I'm from District 5, South Pasadena. I'm a builder of Oracle Federal, and I presented the federal budget for LA Board of Supervisors September 10th of $238.5 billion to build our critical infrastructure required for Kamala Care, universal health care for LA County, India, and China. And I'm asking, could we augment the ECRC Center and the impacted parties with Oracle Federal, our most powerful quantum computer, publicly announced by Kamala Harris on 9/10, and do real-time personality profiling, treatment status, behavioral modeling for homeless members and staff to help guide all different parties And this is in my use case. I submitted a Captain Barger for a test pilot at Union Station, Pasadena Homeless Shelter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Alicia Castro. Your line is open. If you're muted, please unmute and speak directly into the phone. You may begin.
Alicia, are you there?
It looks like Alicia just dropped.
Okay, next speaker.
Our next participant is Ashley De La Rosa. Your line is open. If you're muted, please unmute and speak directly into the phone. You may begin.
Hi, good morning. My name is Ashley De La Rosa. I'm with the Dolores Huerta Foundation, a nonprofit organization working to empower community members to make change in their communities. We support item 26 to increase the shelter capacity across the county. And I also just want to emphasize that the Dolores Huerta Foundation has been conducting door-to-door canvassing this summer in light of the election, also getting people to know what is happening. And we've been knocking over 400 doors, and a lot of the concerns that community members share are about the hospice crisis. It is important to invest in the Antelope Valley and Palmdale in coordination with organizations that are doing on-the-ground work to ensure faithful implementation and to ensure that the community members are able to have the needed shelters that they need. With this extreme heat and cold in that region, the shelter is a life-saving intervention. And so it is really important for us to also invest in the Antelope Valley again, just to make sure that
Thank you.
the whole
Your time has
area of
expired.
Outlake
Next
County-
speaker, please.
Our next participant is Allison Henry. Your line is open. If you're muted, please unmute and speak directly into the phone. You may begin.
I'm with Hoganess Inc. Hoganess is a nonprofit that serves homeless youth and students in Los Angeles County. The young people that we serve represent some of the most vulnerable of our community members, and so on behalf of that population and Hoganess, we want to express our support for item 26 to expand shelter capacity across the county. Shelter intervention is critical for our youth population in order to prevent the cycle of homelessness throughout adulthood. And additionally, we want to ensure that the shelter access is distributed equitably across the region. It's important that we as a county come together to jointly end the homelessness crisis, ensure that we're all working together to do our part to support our unhoused neighbors. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Sean Moressy. Your line is open. If you're muted. Our next participant is Sean Moressy. Your line is open. If you're muted, please unmute and speak directly into the phone. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Sean Moressy. I'm the VP of Advocacy and Community Engagement with Union Station Homeless Services. We're the spot lead in San Gabriel Valley, and we support item 26 in evaluating a framework for establishing emergency climate shelters. We recognize that as we rightly move toward permanent and supportive housing as the model solution to ending homelessness, there has been at the same time a woeful lack of accompanying emergency interim housing as part of the continuum. We want to ensure that shelter, especially in San Gabriel Valley, is distributed equitably and that all cities participate. We emphasize the importance that these facilities be non-congregate, voluntary, and run utilizing compassionate, person-centered best practice models and resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Jacqueline Villalta. Your line is open. If you're, please unmute and speak directly in your phone. You may begin.
My name is Jacqueline Villalta from Operation Healthy Heart.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Eric Preven. Your line is open. If you're muted, please unmute and speak directly into the phone. You may begin.
Thank you. It's Eric Preven, and I don't know which spa I'm in, but we have some of the issues in Studio City, North Hollywood, and it was nice to see Councilwoman Rahman come down. And the emergency center is an idea that Katie Arslowski likes to talk about, and it's not a bad idea using the share information model since we're all trying to put the fire out. But the problem is that there are already infrastructure things in place. And when I hear about Rahman talked about the great data mining they did. They finally can figure out that people are in the interim for so long. We already know that. We already know that. And now we're going to have a little separate office that's wearing little hats to try to. I'm very, very worried about a further expansion. It sounds like CES Part 2. Now, going to the climate emergency, what a problem of our time. This is a great idea to get people indoors so they don't cook and die out in the streets. Now, 4118 with our colleagues down at City Hall that are rolling out at an alarming rate, including from voting along with it. If you
Thank
can believe
you.
it.
Your time has
Get people
expired.
fixed up.
Next speaker, please.
Let me finish. I'd like to finish. I have 2 minutes. These are 2 items. I don't think you should be cutting me off. I would like to finish
Next.
talking about the.
Each speaker gets 1 minute on both items. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Lisa Smith. Your line is open. If you're muted, please unmute and speak directly into the phone.
Volunteers America, and I am in support of item 26. And I want to thank all the supervisors for bringing this to the table. However, I would like to see San Gabriel Valley get more support in more shelters because it's more really needed. I oversee Pomona shelters, and I want to give HI props for bringing pathways in because it's being very helpful. So at the same time, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to say that this will be a positive thing to happen. Thank you, Celise.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Armanda Nava.
Family Agency Insurance Crisis Analysis, which was held by Supervisor Barger. For members of the public on the telephone wanting to speak on this item, please press 1 then 0 now to comment on this item. Supervisor Barger, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Insurance rates have been rising significantly across all sectors, impacting homeowners who lost fire insurance, businesses, car owners, and more. Unfortunately, there has been no relief in sight as insurers are pulling out of providing insurance in the state. One victim of this plight is our foster family agencies who provide care to foster youth after they have been removed from their home due to safety concerns. Many of these agencies have operated in the county for decades, providing stability for young people's services and care. The insurance provider of 90% of these agencies has stated it wants to pull out of providing insurance in California due to increased liability costs due to AB 218 lawsuits. The impact this has had on our FFA providers is devastating. An immediate loss of insurance or significant increase has threatened our FFA's very existence. Up to 500 foster youth may lose their homes in the next 2 to 3 weeks if the providers lose insurance. I've already heard from one of the FFAs in my district that they will be closing in 2 weeks as a result of the insurance crisis. My hope and their hope is that these families continue to want to be foster families with other agencies in the county, even though their connection with the FFA and their dedicated social worker will be lost. My district has been home to the highest number of children placed at an FFA certified home. This is why we must look at all options today to prevent the loss of these foster homes for our youth who have already experienced trauma, instability, and challenges more than any of us could dream of. That is why I've also asked our county council, DCFS, and CEO's office to continue to work on options to ensure these agencies can survive and provide vital services that make up our system. I want to thank the FFAs in my district and the Association of Community Human Service Agencies for their continued advocacy on this issue. I know several of them will be sharing their voices today, but I want you to know I have heard you and the county is taking this issue seriously and immediately. And Rebecca Ellis with the LA Times did an excellent article highlighting not only the crisis but the impact. So I would encourage, if my colleagues have not seen it, to take a look at it because it really does lay out this crisis and
ensure we don't lose the support of and collaboration with these essential partners. We thank you in advance to CEO Lora for the work that you will do to embark on an advocacy plan for legislative and state budget proposals to provide a long-term sustainable solution to this crisis. I know it's state legislation that prompted insurance companies to take this action. And so we're simply responding to a reality that unfortunately will impact our county as a result of even just the action of proposing legislation. So I look forward to the report back, and our team is ready to work with County Council, DCFS, and our CEO to do all that we can to support our foster.
Work collaboratively to find a solution. So I'll be supporting today's motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Executive Officer, please call the members of the public who have signed up to speak on this item.
Well, Amber Rivas, Anna Rubin, Jody Carrata, Cesar Gomez, and Donald Harlan, please come forward and staff will assist you. Moderator, may we have the first remote speaker, please?
Our first participant is Lora Patterson. Your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Lora Patterson with Sycamores. We would first like to thank Supervisor Berger for her leadership in authoring this motion and Chair Horvath for serving as co-author. Sycamores has been directly impacted by this insurance crisis. With a notice by NIAC about our non-renewal coverage on November 1st, our leadership team has grappled with a very difficult decision to close our FFA program. The news has been devastating to our resource families given their long-term engagement with their FFA social worker. She's walked alongside them through the certification process, daily parenting challenges, crisis, and the adoption process. FFA are vital to the state's goal to place more youth in family homes rather than group settings. Foster youth are already dealing with instability, and the worst thing we can do is make their lives more unstable. Sycamores is in strong support of this motion for LA County to identify additional tangible steps to be taken, given that the state is unwilling to offer any additional lifelines to maintain the existing FFA
Your time has
capacity.
expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Amy Sanchez.
Your current FFA insurance crisis. I'm thankful to Supervisors Barger and Hovarth for your advocacy on behalf of FFAs and to the entire board for your historical, ongoing, steadfast support of foster children and families in LA County. 5 Acres FFA has facilitated positive permanency outcomes for vulnerable foster children for the past 36 years. For the foster children in our care, we define positive permanency outcomes as reunification with birth families, relative adoptions, legal guardianship, and foster adoption. Our permanency outcome is 86%, which compares favorably to the state permanency rate of 33%. Our request to you as a board to continue your advocacy on behalf of FFA so that we can continue to facilitate positive permanency outcomes now and into the future for the most vulnerable foster children in Los Angeles County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Job and leave some behind. This is part of the problem, as you know.
Our next participant is Lori Eastman. Your line is open. Please unmute yourself if you're muted and speak directly into the phone. You may begin.
Hi, this is Lori Eastman with Olive Crest. I am the Regional Program Director, and I am in support of...
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Eric Preven. Your line is open. If you are muted, unmute yourself and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Yeah, I brought this up last week. As you know, this is a very serious issue. And, you know, I am confused about how the insurance companies can walk away and why the county can't simply self-insure. 1,900 people at, you know, in our county, I believe it's 9,000 statewide. This is not such a big task to get insurance. You have 105,000 employees. So we can put a few more people on some kind of a policy so that the service that these folks are providing can continue. Or another question is, maybe, you know, this is not, that nobody wants the good places that have been doing a good job to go anywhere, that we want them to stick around. But there are a lot of problems in this space. And maybe there should be a way to get back in there, and we can pick up the ones we want who are doing a good job and leave some behind. This is part of the problem, as you know. There's enormous fraud, which we never hear about because you have buried everything in a Measure G explosion. I would suggest canceling Measure G and doing the work we need in the places where we need it, like in
Thank you.
in
Your
the
time has
foster youth.
expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Cora Gonzalez. Your line is
Poisoning Prevention Week in Los Angeles County, ensuring residents are lead aware, which was held by Supervisor Solis. For members of the public on the telephone, please press 1 then 0 now to comment on this item. Supervisor Solis, I will turn it to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This motion came about because community members in my district shared that they were unclear on the health impacts of lead and what they could do in terms of prevention and potential exposure. This is information, in my opinion, that should be made available to all and everyone, but especially by people who care for the most vulnerable, such as parents of young children and caregivers of folks with disabilities, and the most vulnerable to lead poisoning, including our seniors and people with underlying illnesses, chronic illnesses. According to an Air Quality Management District health risk assessment, at least 250,000 people in LA County are at risk of developing chronic health conditions from lead exposure that comes from lead, arsenic emissions that settle on residential soil. Exposure to lead is not uncommon in urban settings, since there are multiple ways people can come into contact with lead, especially from community members that live near areas with known pollution, such as the Exide former battery recycling plant. Furthermore, a recent California Department of Public Health report shared that medical providers in this state are apparently falling short of reaching mandated routine blood lead screenings for young children. That's truly unfortunate, since lead exposure can cause, as we know, developmental delays, learning disabilities for young children, creating lifelong impacts. Moreover, lead can remain in the body for months, enter into soft tissue, and remain even embedded in our bones for decades. There's also evidence that lead exposure can result in cancer. There are multiple education gaps that we know need to be addressed. Community members need to be informed about symptoms of lead exposure and what to do next. And medical providers need to be reminded that lead is still a problem in LA County, and they must be proactive and receptive of testing folks for lead poisoning. Proclaiming Lead Poisoning Prevention Week, October the 20th through the 26th in LA County, is meant to jumpstart sustained health education outreach and the impacts of lead exposure and what next steps should be taken. I look forward to learning about the health education material and outreach that should be done for all our community residents in their languages. And I look forward to hearing back from our departments on this. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I also want to thank my co-author, Supervisor Hahn, who also shares this concern and interest.
And I will turn it to her, Supervisor Hahn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Supervisor Solis. And one of the things I want to emphasize is that tackling lead poisoning is not just the responsibility of individual families, right? This is a public health issue, and it requires cooperation at every level. There's no safe blood lead level for children. Even just a little bit of lead in the blood of a child can be harmful. Lead is toxic and particularly dangerous for young children because of their small size, rapid growth, and development. It can cause behavioral and learning difficulties, anemia, seizures, and other medical problems. Infants and young children are more likely to be exposed to lead than older children because they might chew paint that flakes off walls and woodwork. Toys can also contain lead, and we all know that infants and children love to put things in their mouth. In Vernon, Exide, a battery recycling plant that went bankrupt, polluted the air with lead particles. The wind carried the contaminated air to the surrounding communities. And when the wind stopped blowing, the lead particulates fell into the soil of these properties where children play, they learn, they grow. And to add insult to injury, the water discharge from the battery recycling plant seeped into water systems and contaminated the water sources. I think it's right that our County Department of Public Health is providing free blood lead testing. This service is absolutely free. Public Health also provides free lead paint remediation to qualifying families with children. Our Public Health Department has also been at the Exide community meetings, ensuring that impacted communities are able to access these services. These free services can detect lead levels in children and help to reduce the exposure. There is treatment for lead poisoning, but taking some simple precautions can help protect you and your family from lead exposure. The CDC, our Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, mentioned a few. Washing hands and toys to help reduce hand-to-mouth transfer of contaminated dust or soil. Wash your children's hands after outdoor play, before eating, and bedtime. Remove shoes before entering the house. This will help keep lead-based soil outside. Run cold water. If you have older plumbing containing lead pipes or fittings, run your cold water for at least a minute before using. And they recommend that you not use just hot tap water to make baby formula or for cooking. And they urge parents to prevent their children playing on the soil. That's a little more difficult. But they suggest providing them with a sandbox that's covered when it's not in use. Plant grass or cover bare soil with mulch. And the main thing I think we're doing by proclaiming this lead poisoning prevention awareness campaign is that we want people to get informed about this. If you're interested in learning more about lead testing for your children, please visit the Department of Public Health website for more information. And one of the things during this prevention week, we're encouraging parents to have children screened for lead by a medical provider at ages 1 and 2, that early. So as we proclaim raising awareness about lead poisoning, I want everyone to take a moment to reflect on the steps that you can do in your own home, but be assured that we here in the county are also taking this very seriously, and we will stand with you and do whatever we can to make sure that you and your children are safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Mitchell.
Thank you, and thank you very much for bringing this motion forward. I was sitting here and reflected. I remember going to back to school night when my son was like in first grade and seeing one of the tasks that kids could be assigned, and it was like the water fountain monitor. And I was like, what's the water fountain monitor? And at the school, it was somebody's job to go and hold the water fountain on at the beginning of the day for the minute to clear the pipes at the school. I was like, problem, how about we fix it versus make it a job for the kids to do in the school? It was striking. So thank you for bringing this motion forward. And I just wanted to elevate some work that the community has done on their own. Back in 2023, the Better Watts Initiative conducted a study based on growing concern in that community, tested approximately 540 water samples from single-family homes throughout Watts, including LA City-owned public housing units and portions of the unincorporated area of Florence-Firestone. The study was just released last month, and it revealed excessive lead exposure in 21 of the samples. That survey showed that of the respondents, 58% identified as Latino, 39% African American, underscoring the disproportionate impact of lead contamination on communities of color across LA County. The same survey found that 77% of survey residents were renters and 96% relied on bottled water, which also shows there's a clear economic burden on low-income families trying to avoid potential lead exposure. And so, as Supervisor Hahn said, I want to thank the Department of Public Health. They've been actively attending the community meetings in Watts along with myself and my team, again, to raise awareness. So I want to express gratitude to those county departments and look forward to Public Health partnering with the communities of Compton and Inglewood Unified School District, again, to provide ongoing health education regarding the impact of lead on health. You know, the challenge is if it's an extended exposure for children, which lead to developmental delays, that's not reversible. And so this is the ultimate, I think, public health challenge. And so I think outreach and information and education is really important, as well as the infrastructure improvements we in government have got to make sure we lean in on to prevent, particularly when you consider the disproportionate impact it has on some of our most vulnerable populations and communities. Thank you, and thank you for introducing it, Ms. Elise.
Thank you. Executive Officer, please call the members of the public who have signed up to speak on this item.
Will Donald Harlan please come forward and staff will assist you? As a final reminder for participants on the telephone, if you would like to address item 2, if you have not done so, please press 1, then 0 now to be placed in the speaking queue. Moderator, may we have the first remote speaker, please?
Our first participant is Samuel Hensley. Looks like he dropped. Go to Barbara. Looks like, okay. Collin Campbell, your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Thank you. My name is Collin Campbell. I'm out of District 5, South Pasadena. I'm a builder of Oracle Federal who used the federal funds for Kamala Care to help deal with lead poisoning. I worked at the CDC and Equifax out of Atlanta as a developer and data architect, and we could do risk detection. Lead poisoning diagnosis can be addressed with allowing people to enroll in Kamala Care to identify risk factors and monitoring places to be exposed to lead and prevent it. Healthcare should be made more equal for all citizens if they are provided an AI that protects all people equally. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Eric Preven. Your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Thank you. No children or any people should be exposed to this kind of contamination, and I'm not clear what we're doing to make it better, but the awareness is very important. And the City of LA has the same problem, and they had a settlement today on a polychlorinated biphenyls lawsuit against Monsanto. So Holly Mitchell, you could ask President Harris Dawson if he wants to spend some of the $35 million they collected today to clean up the mess in your shared district. That would be very, very appropriate. The other thing is, I was looking into it, and this stuff being in schools is really dangerous. And I don't know what our strategy is, since we're wasting money bulking up on supervisors with Measure G. Can we consider dropping Measure G and putting the money and the funds forward to the many festering problems we have, like every single item? And can we put the public comment forward in the meeting so people don't have to wait till the end? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Samuel Brown. Your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Hi. Speaker, please.
Our next participant is Samuel Brown. Your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Hi, I work at Nature for All, and I just wanted to endorse the request with the Board of Supervisors to adopt this resolution. As a resident of the East San Gabriel Valley, it's concerning that we don't have a lot of access to materials around lead contamination. In an article published by the LA Times last year, there was a drinking water source tested at Van Wyck Head Start and State Preschool that had 940 times the allowable concentration for child care centers. The highest lead levels in LA County were then found to be at Van Wyck, where it was tested to be 4,700 parts per billion, and Happy Campers Children's Center, which was 3,800 parts per billion. We, urge the board to adopt this resolution, and we think it's important, especially given our proximity to the lead battery smelter, Quimeco. Thank you so much for taking consideration of this issue of lead contamination, and let's work together to try to address it and to reduce the exposure levels.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Barbara Hensley. Your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Hello, Barbara Hensley here. I am from the Sierra Club, and I want to first thank Supervisor Solis and Supervisor Hahn for sponsoring this measure and bringing it to the forefront. Of course, the Lead Poisoning Prevention Week in LA is a great way to ensure people that this is a real issue, and we'd ask the board to support the motion because of the threat to public health living in known areas of pollution such as Exide, but also in areas that are like East LA. I'm just hearing about San Gabriel Valley, where people come into contact with lead and may not even know it. It also seems that medical providers have become a little slack about having conversations with their patients and the parents with having 0 to 2-year-old children tested.
Thank you.
even
Your
that-
time has
though that's the
expired.
standard.
Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Roy Humphreys. Your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Okay, thank you to Eric Preven for his enlightenment. And folks, this is so disgusting. There were 2024. Lead has been in the construction worldwide, nationwide, statewide, countywide since Christ was a corporal. And you're coming out, and then we have Holly Mitchell coming out. Oh, throwing in the race card when the county and the state of Los Angeles. The Hispanic Latino population, what's that, 50% or more of the population? Come on, get off of this pandering garbage here and just deal with the reality that's been going on since like forever. So why you need to be doing it, need to be doing the intervention, and it's going to cost billions of dollars to correct the situation. You didn't say a damn thing when you had the excise battery and all that sort of stuff. You people ought to be ashamed of yourself, but as we know, you don't know shame. You need to get some testosterone in that county board of supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Madam Chair, there are no other remote speakers to address the board.
Hi, I'm Donald Harlan, speaking on agenda item number 2 about the lead poisoning prevention week. Yeah, there's no lead pipes here in Los Angeles. There never, ever has been. Any lead paint was removed out of every building in the county since the 70s. There hasn't been any lead paint since then. Hilda Solis and Janice Hahn are criminal liars trying to spend money for lead poisoning. Bullshit. You guys are the fucking problem.
That's your second warning?
You know what? Erase this item completely from the agenda and fire Hilda Solis and Janice Hahn. Completely lock them out of the county business for this. What they did was they illegally developed in the industrial area, and we have Hilda Solis and Janice Hahn covering it up. They're implicated in
Your
that.
time has expired. Next speaker, please. Next speaker. Okay, no other speakers in queue. That is your final warning, sir. We now need to continue on with our agenda. With that, item 2 is before us, moved by Supervisor Solis, seconded by Supervisor Hahn to approve the item. Executive Officer, please call the roll.
Supervisor Solis?
Aye.
Supervisor Solis, aye. Supervisor Mitchell?
Aye.
Supervisor Mitchell, aye. Supervisor Hahn?
Aye.
Supervisor Hahn, aye. Supervisor Barker?
Aye.
Supervisor Barker, aye. Supervisor Horvath?
Aye.
Supervisor Horvath, aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item 7, enabling county libraries to better serve their unhoused patrons, which was held by Supervisor Mitchell. For members of the public on the telephone, please press 1, then 0 now to comment on this item. Supervisor Mitchell, I will turn it to you.
Thank you. I'd like to start by thanking both our amazing county library system and our Department of Mental Health for all their support in working with my team on this motion. And thank you, Supervisor Hahn, for your interest in co-authoring. The motion is in response to the growing homeless crisis and the burden that it is placing on our libraries and our staff. Our county libraries have become a de facto day shelter for thousands of our unhoused family, friends, and neighbors who are seeking respite from extreme weather conditions and unsafe streets, plus access to Wi-Fi. Libraries provide a safe space for them to rest, drink water, charge their phones, and again, use computers and the restroom. Our county librarians and library staff have been truly remarkable over the years in how they balance their workload while responding to the needs of their unhoused patrons in our facilities. Some of the libraries in my district have anywhere from 3 to 10 incidents per week involving an unhoused person. These incidents can be anything from something minor to more severe cases involving a mental health crisis, where unfortunately police and paramedics are called. This board has always advocated for less enforcement and more care for our unhoused, and it's in this spirit that I hope to reestablish a pilot from 2018 in which mental health clinicians served in county libraries to help de-escalate severe cases and helped to provide mental health support for our unhoused patrons. The pilot was very successful prior to COVID-19. Mental health clinicians reported making over 3,700 contacts with unhoused library patrons in need of services in less than 1 year. During the pilot program, social workers led approximately 450 programs for patrons and staff, which helped connect the unhoused patron with resources. They also provided important training to library staff on strategies and techniques to use in various mental health crises, primarily de-escalation. When the pandemic hit and it forced our libraries to close, those clinicians were returned to their original posts at the Department of Mental Health. So this motion, colleagues, will identify where the highest need libraries are in the county and create an implementation plan to bring mental health workers back to our libraries at a time when they are needed the most. Thank you again, Supervisor Hahn, for co-authoring, and I hope that you all will support this motion.
Thank you, Supervisor Hahn.
Thank you, Supervisor Mitchell, for allowing me to join you in this motion. It's great to see our two department heads, right? Dr. Lisa Wong, the Department of Mental Health, Scott Patrick, our libraries together. I'm sure in another time or place, you wouldn't necessarily see these two department heads so closely collaborating on something, but I think it's so important. And Sky, it's been your leadership that really have made our libraries so important to our communities and to our residents. And they become so much more than just books and reading. Our libraries are places where people can access the internet for free, or they can take classes, learn a new skill, or even access Narcan kits. And our libraries and our library staff are such an important asset for our county, and they work tirelessly to provide excellent services. Please make sure you always convey that to your staff of how grateful we are to our those who work in our libraries. But they're being met with new challenges. And those in our county who are homeless find comfort in our libraries because they are welcoming and safe places. They provide a cool place to stay on a hot day, a quiet and safe place to spend the day, and so much more. And as Supervisor Mitchell talked about it, we had this great pilot program in 2018 that with our Department of Mental Health that assigned trained clinicians and or licensed social workers to support our unhoused population at our high need libraries. Unfortunately, due to COVID pandemic, the program was put on pause as our libraries closed and began doing curbside service, which again, what a great, I don't know if we've ever really thanked you for that as well, Sky. I mean, to think that libraries pivoted to curbside service, something that kind of was probably you didn't learn in library school, that would be a skill that we needed to do. But we saw those businesses and those departments that were able to pivot during the COVID were the ones that were successful and continued to meet our residents' needs. So thank you for that. But our libraries are now back open. We're seeing more and more incidents in which our unhoused population do require mental health support that is beyond what our librarians are trained to support. So I'm, of course, supporting this motion, glad to co-author it. I think it's time that we revisit that 2018 pilot program. This program, in partnership with Dr. Wong and our Department of Mental Health, will help us provide these individuals with the mental health they need, and it will assist our library staff so they can continue to focus on their primary services. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Barker.
Thank you, and I also want to thank you for bringing this motion forward. I mean, I know in my district of the Antelope Valley, when we were just talking about the heat, that was ground zero for where a lot of the unhoused went. and they went there to keep cool, but also connectivity with the internet, which I know is not unique to the Antelope Valley. And I too want to thank you and your staff, Sky, because it creates challenges for staff as well. And I know that safety was an issue because many of them are coming in and being a little disruptive, but with the right training, they can calm them down and everything goes fine. But they need the support and the training to understand how to de-escalate in certain situations. And I know in our new library down in Live Oak, we serve lunch as well to families, and they also have been helping with some of the unhoused. So there's no question your staff is dedicated not only to helping people with the services they were hired to do, and that is the library, but also working with the population that is frequenting the libraries. And to you, Lisa, I think you heard me say it earlier, all roads lead back to mental health. And this is another example of that. So I want to publicly thank you and your team as well for the dedication. I know you're drinking out of a fire hose, and I know that with some of the challenges that are coming forward, you're trying to figure out how this is all going to be, how we're going to navigate it. But I have to say that this board supports the efforts that you're making to roll out services, and this, I think, will be an example of where we can do it in an area knowing where where individuals are congregating, and it could be a win-win. So thank you for bringing this motion forward.
Supervisor Solis.
Yes, I won't reiterate what's already been said, but thank you both, and thank you to the author and the co-author, and for the two departments. I know this is a challenging time for us, and I would just like to underscore, we've had calls from some of our libraries in the unincorporated area where we have this problem.
The internet for free, or they can take classes, learn a new skill, or even access Narcan kits. And our libraries and our library staff, Department of Mental Health, that assign trained clinicians and or licensed social workers to support our unhoused population at our high-need libraries. Unfortunately, due to COVID pandemic, the program was put on pause as our libraries closed and began doing curbside.
Supervisor Solis.
Yes, I won't reiterate what's already been said, but thank you both, and thank you to the author and the co-author, and for the two departments. I know this is a challenging time.
This bit is Joshua Clayton.
Of those areas.
And throughout the county, this kind of partnership means that people will be able to receive.
A lot of the unhoused went, and they went there to keep cool, but also connectivity with the internet, which I know is not unique to the Antelope Valley. And I too want to thank you and your staff, Sky, because it creates challenges for staff as well. And I know that safety was an issue because many of them are coming in and being a little disruptive, but with the right training, they can calm them down and everything goes fine. But they need the support and the training to understand how to de-escalate in certain situations. And I know in our new library down in Live Oak, we serve lunch as well to families, and they also have been helping with some of the unhoused. So there's no question your staff is dedicated not only to helping people with the services they were hired to do, and that is the library, but also working with the population that is frequenting the libraries. And to you, Lisa, I think you heard me say it earlier, all roads lead back to mental health. And this is another example of that. So I want to publicly thank you and your team as well for the dedication. I know you're drinking out of a fire hose, and I know that with some of the challenges that are coming forward. You're trying to figure out how this is all going to be, how we're going to navigate it. But I have to say that this board supports the efforts that you're making to roll out services. And this, I think, will be an example of where we can do it in an area knowing where where individuals are congregating, and it could be a win-win. So thank you for bringing this motion forward.
Supervisor Solis.
Yes, I won't reiterate what's already been said, but thank you both, and thank you to the author and the co-author, and for the two departments. I know this is a challenging time for us, and I would just like to underscore, we've had calls from some of our libraries in the unincorporated area where we have this problem. It's been there for a while, so I would just hope that we really drill down on some of those areas in the first district and the unincorporated areas where we've seen where there have been instances where staff have had unfortunate experiences with this, dealing with it, and then also just the fact that people, use the library in so many different ways. But again, thank you, and I support the item. Thank you.
As a resident of one of the cities who enjoys the pleasure of a county library, and having seen, especially during COVID, and even before that, the role that the West Hollywood Library has played in providing safe access to additional services and supports, I'm very supportive of this motion, and I would love to see our mental health clinicians expand their service to libraries like San Fernando and West Hollywood in our 3rd district, and throughout the county. This kind of partnership means that people will be able to receive services in a place where they feel safe, that perhaps doesn't come with the stigma of going to some of the other places they might otherwise receive services, and invites them in a very accessible way. So I thank you both for the partnership that will proceed from this motion. Supervisor Mitchell, I'll turn it back to you.
Just very quickly, I wanted to make sure everyone knows, particularly those of us who weren't here on the board when the pilot happened. They have data from 2018 to 2020 to show the libraries with highest need by SPA and libraries with highest need by district. So, the part of the motion is to make sure that they review the data, and based on current incidents that the library staff are reporting, to make sure that we prioritize those libraries and communities that express the highest need. I just wanted to make sure folks knew that data existed from the pilot. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to offer any other comment before we go to public comment?
Thank you, Chair Horvath. Thank you, Supervisor Mitchell and Supervisor Janice Hahn. I think all of you said it perfectly and beautifully. Libraries support our communities in so many ways that are deliberate and both deliberate and unintentional. This program
speak on this item.
Will Donald, Harlan, and Pickle
homelessness and our neighbors who are experiencing mental health issues. So thank you for supporting us, and we look forward to reporting back.
Thank you very much. Executive Officer, please call the members of the public who've signed up to speak on this item.
Will Donald, Harlan, and Pickle Dry Queen please come forward, and staff will assist you. Moderator, may we have the first remote speaker, please?
Our first participant is Joshua Clayton. Your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Clayton. I'm with the Friends of the Musau W. Stottle Library, and I'm calling to support the motion to bring back the mental health practitioners to our libraries. Item 7. Thank you very much. I voice my full support.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Corinne Land. Your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Hi, I live in Indianapolis Valley, and I visit the Lancaster Library every week. I have noticed unhoused people inside the library. They obviously need help. Some of them have mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and many seem to have lost hope. I think libraries would be a convenient location for unhoused people to access support from social workers. I also think many other people would benefit from having an accessible social worker available. So I also support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Andrea Carroll. Your line is open. If you are muted, please unmute and speak directly into your phone. You may begin.
Thank you. I love libraries, and I love the idea of them as parts of the community where you have civic meetings and ways to be part of the community, learning and education. And everybody should be included, of course. And I'm very appreciative of the librarians who take the time to be dignified with unhoused people. But I agree with the caller who said that it cannot be a librarian's responsibility, quite frankly. And once again, we need more people, and we don't have more people. We do not need more supervisors milling around getting Nithya Raman to come up here, where Marquise Harris Dawson today, once again, shut down public comment from me for 2 meetings in a row. So it's now dueling bad people who are colluding. So I don't appreciate that. I think that the librarian should be respected, and the people who go to the library should be able to hear from the people in the public timely when they watch the meeting on the little TVs, and not have the people shrunk down to the size of a gnat on City Hall while they appear in living color at County Hall. We'll get into that, and we can discuss it with Mr. Harris Dawson and Chair Horvath together.
Thank you.
Maybe
Your
we can
time
make
has
some progress.
expired. Next speaker, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers, moderator?
There are no other speakers on the phone.
Okay, then we'll go to speakers in person. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Hi, my name is Pickle. I am the drag laureate of the city of West Hollywood, and I run Drag Story Hour. And I want to thank Supervisors Han and Mitchell for putting this forth. More than that, I'm a daily library user. I do all my work for my nonprofit from libraries, from the computers. I use the printing every day at different libraries throughout the county based on where I need to be. I overhear people accessing resources every day from librarians, and the compassion that they receive is so inspiring. The other week, I was in the computer lab. A woman came in and she said, "I need help," and they connected her to resources. She was at the end of her rope, and she went to the library. She didn't go to a resource fair. She didn't go to a clinic. She didn't go to a police station. She went to a library. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there, please go ahead. Next speaker.
Agenda item number 7, running homeless programs at the county libraries. Definitely no. I don't know if you realize what's going on at the libraries. A real problem popped out of the libraries. They started trying to alter history and photoshopping pictures. They even photoshopped my personal pictures and published them in a book with a fake history. Angel City Press is particularly bad. These are sponsored mostly by the LA City Library, but the LA County Library has similar problems. Many of the evil creatures and trolls creating illegal publications and false histories appeared as librarians, and they're in there creating problems. They're trying to create a homeless business in the library.
Your time has expired. Next speaker. Seeing no other speakers. Item 7 is before us, moved by Supervisor Mitchell, seconded by Supervisor Han to approve this item. Thanks for joining me on this motion to accelerate the implementation of Los Angeles County's soon-to-be updated Bicycle Master Plan and Vision Zero improvements. Bicycle and pedestrian fatalities occur in every part of the county and are all too common. To name just a few examples, in the 3rd District in Northridge on Friday evening, a cyclist in his early 50s was thrown off his bicycle by one vehicle to be hit by a second. Neither driver stopped. In the 2nd District on Friday, August 2nd, in the middle of the day, a man in his 40s was killed in a bicycle versus vehicle hit-and-run collision on West 63rd Street near Overhill Drive in View Heights. And in the 1st District in April, a 46-year-old father of 5 was struck by an SUV traveling at a high rate of speed in LA's central Alameda neighborhood and pronounced dead at the scene. Last year, 87 fatal traffic collisions occurred throughout our unincorporated communities, resulting in 95 deaths. 95 people who left behind sons, daughters, mothers, fathers, partners, and friends. According to Bike LA, 85% of the fatalities that occur happen where
Longtime advocacy on environmental justice and sustainable transportation. I've been a longtime supporter of comprehensive bike infrastructure in LA County, at least as long as I have been on the board. And I want to reflect on a project that has been very close to me in my heart for the last 25 years. It's known as the Emerald Necklace Project in the San Gabriel Valley, and it abuts, I think, every major bike trail that's of any significance in San Gabriel Valley. Connects us to our rivers, but it also connects a lot of our communities, especially underrepresented communities. And I've lived most of my life in San Gabriel Valley and know how important this is. And in fact, back in 1999, as a state senator, I helped to pass legislation to create the San Gabriel, Lower, and Los Angeles River Mountain Conservancy, which is now known as the RMC. We look to funding from the state and other entities to try to help us expand upon our bike paths. The Emerald Necklace Project actually started way back in 2001 with the late Jeff Yang. Some of you know him from the Whittier and Hacienda Heights and Pellissier area. He was an avid Sierra Club member, but someone who really spent a lot of time working on the environment. As I became Congresswoman, the other efforts we worked together on with him and even with the county at that time was helping to revert some of our open space, for example, the San Gabriel River Park that just came on board that was known as a duck farm for, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 years. And as a child growing up there, you knew what that duck farm was. It smelled horrendous. It's now been closed and is now one of our major park systems. And it's a natural area, and the conservation that's taking place there is incredible. But it's also a centerpiece of the Emerald Necklace path and bikeway for equestrian use, for biking, and for people that just want to walk. The 30-acre linear park that I'm talking about features a world-class bike path, marking a significant milestone in our journey. However, much of the project remains yet to be built. In 2016, voters overwhelmingly supported the expansion of LA County's transportation network through Measure M. This included $120 million for the San Gabriel Greenway Network, aiming to expand our bikeway network along flood control facilities and build upon the Emerald Necklace vision. While I'm excited about the progress, I'm also disappointed about the pace. San Gabriel Valley Greenway Network Plan, initially set to identify the first 40 buildable miles by 2018, is now only nearing completion now, some years later, 2024. Despite this delay, I'm eager to see this plan guide the implementation of our bikeway network because it impacts so many underserved communities. We're making strides with 4 additional miles of the Vincent Community Bikeway Project, and I want to commend DPW for that and your staff, but I would like to see it move faster. I think people are owed that. I urge the County Flood Control District to implement the plan immediately as a part of the Bikeway Master Plan update. These projects, as you know, shouldn't take a decade to implement. We need to respond urgently to climate change and to provide viable alternatives to driving for our many, many residents. So on this journey, I hope that we can continue to see this move on a faster pace, and I think we may have.
Per the County Vision Zero Plan, 15 of the top 20 collision concentration corridors are unfortunately in the 2nd District. And so it's important that Public Works recognizes that. I think the priority is really
to assure, transparency and fairness.
Yep.
How can we relax those and at the same time move more quickly?
And not compromise that. No, I hear that, and I know you're not making excuses, but it's just when I heard 2 years, I wanted a clarification in terms of what it was we're talking about, because I couldn't believe that. But I support this motion. I feel as though, Supervisor Solis brought up the length of time it's taken. I mean, I remember meeting with some of my constituents who have flood control behind their homes that were upset because they said they felt as though this was part of their backyard. How can we do this? And the reminder was by your staff that that's public right away. And, that's in an area where it would have been, it's ideal because it connects cities without being on really busy streets like Huntington Drive. So I'm anxious to see how this all plays out. I do agree that we need to look at things like what the city of LA did with their measure HLA. It's obvious that it was very popular. It got 65.5% approval. However, the number of projects to which the measure has been applied so far have been limited, raising questions about the financial implications of this plan.
Hope we're on first name basis. Thank you for this. It's kind of gone in a different direction, but I appreciate you, Supervisor Barger, bringing up the issue of hiring and new classifications, because as you said, Mark, we've already identified some qualified people. We're going to lose those qualified people probably in 2 years. So that's another thing to think about.
Our first participant is Brianna Egan. Please make sure your phone is on mute and speak directly into it. You may begin.
Hello, County Board of Supervisors. My name is Brianna Egan. I'm calling in from the South Bay in strong support of this motion to strengthen the Vision Zero program and also implement the bicycle master plan on streets in county roads. I think this motion is really strong and it's very needed. As folks have as you all have talked about, the rate of bicycle fatality and the traffic crisis on our street is unacceptable, and we should be doing everything that we can to make our streets safer for all road users. Speaking specifically to the South Bay, there's areas of the bicycle master plan that we are very excited about, including along the Dominguez Channel and in El Camino Village.
Participant is Eric Preven. Please make sure your phone is unmuted and speak directly into it. You may begin.
Yeah, it's Eric Preven, and I'm astonished that this role has not been cast yet. and I was listening closely to the suggestion that it's impossible to get an intern in 6 months. So I just want to raise some questions about how in the world we're going to fill all of these unmet needs and these positions. I don't know. And I think concierge work at the highest rate, which is inconsistent as we lock arms and pay for retail hotel rooms. I mean, what we need, I think, on Vision Zero is to be able to staff this role, but how long does Supervisor Mitchell and the people in the neighborhoods where the high entry network is, how long do they have to wait for everyone to shrug and go, hey, what happened? And Pastrella ought to get out to Studio City and monitor what they're doing by the LA River near the Harvard Westlake place, where they, mark my words, there will be a car accident there. There have been several already. It's not a nice idea to put a stadium in a lovely, quiet, wooded area.
Thank you. Your time has expired.
Anybody prod to get this confidential report out for the public. If we're having this conversation about transparency, ethics, independence, why are we not included in some of these fundamentals of the conversation, which seem to be guiding your policy decisions, as expressed in this little debate we've had? I think it's really unfortunate that we are going to be voting on this measure blind. I'm happy to hear, finally, the recognition that this commission won't be independent unless we revisit this at the ballot, as I've suggested. It's really unfortunate how this whole process has played out. At a minimum, we should see this report so that we're not having this conversation in the blind from the public thing. It just runs counter to everything you guys have been talking about. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Eric Preven. Please make sure your phone is unmuted and speak directly into it. You may begin.
Thank you. I have a lot of experience with LA County ethics from when Don Knabe was in the House with his son, Matt Knabe, lobbying directly to him, except for they were pretending that he didn't notice because he wouldn't know, of course not. But in any case, it's a very, very corrupt place because there's so much money sloshing around. And when Mr. Ridley Thomas and Richard Bruckner invaded the turnaround as an ethic, and was lobbying before he was allowed to,
Nobody did anything, including the DA. So there's no point in having it. They will not have any teeth. Independent is correct, but how could it be independent? You appoint them, and if you don't, then you have your county council who will appoint them. It's not a good area. I think these ethics commissions, I used to have a lot of faith. I'm very sorry to say. I think it's very important to build out the ethics transparency so that the reporters and people can have access to all the information. Disclosure is critical, and hyper-transparency is, and I like that you announced that you have been taking money from someone. Those are the things we need. There should be no question. And there should be, when there are allegations, they should be, look, we got Mark Ridley Thomas with the federal authorities.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next speaker, please.
Who wants the COVID-Burling report?
Madam Chair, there are no other remote speakers in the queue to address the board.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
yes.
I'm sorry, but the report back is going to be public, correct?
Yes, with the amendment that was made, it will be a public report back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So with that, Supervisor Barger moves item 28, and I will second to approve the item. Executive, as amended, yes. Executive Officer, please call the roll.
For a two-person household in the city and county of LA, 29% of all households have senior residents, and 88% of those households are considered very low or extremely low income. The community's median income is $37,794 for a two-person household, and almost 50% of the local low-income households do not live in affordable rent-restricted housing. There's been a lot of gentrification that has occurred there in the past few years. We're happy to be here at this critical point and working together with some of our other community partners. We are excited to be able to work now with Link Housing, who are also working in the similar surrounding.
Individuals, please come forward. Cecilia Go, Donald Harlan, Isaac Chu, Jason Lee, Jessica Sanchez, and Phyllis Lee. Please come forward and staff will assist you. As a final reminder for participants on the telephone, if you would like to address item number 47, if you have not already done so, please press 1 and 0 now to be placed in the speaking queue. Moderator, may we have the first remote speaker, please?
Our first participant is Julie Rico. Please make sure your phone is unmuted and speak directly into it. You may begin.
I'm a volunteer with the Chinatown Community Coalition, and I want to thank Supervisor Hilda Solis for her work with the community. We eagerly anticipate the development of affordable housing, neighborhood-serving retail, and a dynamic, creative community center where culture and education will meet. With Link Housing selected as the site developer, we look forward to working with them during the exclusive negotiating agreement, which will include more community engagement to define the final project. We would like to emphasize that current acutely low-income residents of Chinatown are in desperate need of housing. We are hopeful that it will be possible to ensure that existing Chinatown residents may apply for the affordable units at New High Village in a special effort outside the boundaries of the current system. We want to thank the supervisor and DEO for going beyond with the inclusion of the community through the creation of the Community Advisor Committee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your time has expired. Next speaker, please.
Madam Chair, there are no other remote speakers in the queue to address the board.
Okay, item 7 is before us, moved by, oh, we have speakers in person, my apologies. Please do go ahead.
Cecilia Ngo, for the record. Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Cecilia Ngo, and I'm the Vice President of Housing Development at Link Housing. I'd like to extend our sincere gratitude to Supervisor Solis for her steadfast leadership and commitment to this project.
Chief Executive Office, who have both made their debuts earlier in today's meeting, will be available for questions as well, and I'll now turn it to you for your presentation.
Perfect. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. Thank you so much for inviting us to present on our work related to this topic, and thank you also for your leadership on this issue to protect county residents. Today, as you noticed, and I noted, I'm joined by colleagues at DPH and OEM, and we will each cover a different aspect of how we are collectively approaching the challenge of responding to extreme heat events and preparing communities for these events. I think we can go to the next slide. Yes. And sorry, let's flip one more. Sorry about that. Unfortunately, as the board has previously noted, global temperatures are rising due to climate change, which is going to result in greater frequency and severity of heat waves, much like what we experienced just a few weeks ago when daytime temperature records were broken all across Southern California and temperatures were 10 to 20 degrees above normal. I know my colleagues at Public Health will elaborate on this further, but extreme heat harms health and well-being in many ways, including heat-related illness and exacerbating heart disease and other existing conditions. In response to this, and in keeping with the county's commitment to build resilience to climate change, what I'll be speaking today about is our part in this, which is your board's direction to the CSO in July 2023 to work with county departments and external partners to develop the county's first heat action plan, a policy framework and action plan for heat resilience. Broadly speaking, the purpose of the plan is to drive action, investment, and collaboration for regional heat resilience. The plan will present a comprehensive approach to heat resilience that will include both preventative actions, such as urban greening, which can actually reduce temperatures at the neighborhood scale, as well as responsive actions such as emergency communications and services. While the plan is still in early phases of development, we are not starting from scratch. Following your motion in July 2023, we did work with 10 county departments to
with us. This is always a big county family approach. And so like all of our hazards and disasters that we face throughout the county, we come at these with a pretty standardized approach of a whole community approach using our emergency management systems. This is no different. So OEM.
You would think differently, but my concern is more about what is happening with the health and well-being of individuals and how they're getting the information regarding what they need to do when these alerts are made. I watch television in the morning and I'll see, there's alerts, which is great. See what the city of LA is doing right away. They put up, we've got cooling centers here. And I'm kind of reluctant to say, I don't see enough from our own county. And I don't know why that is. I know we have a portal and there's information that's out there, but I want to say that in many occasions for communities that I represent, and perhaps others here in the board would feel the same, the information isn't translated in their languages. So people go to work and children go to school, but they may not be told by their parents or someone who can say, hey, guess what? It's going to be hot today. Va a ser mucho calor.
In real time about certain sites. I do want to raise to everyone's attention there is an incongruency, and part of that incongruency is a legitimate one in the sense that we as a county do not advertise non-accessible locations. We are fine if a city chooses to open up a facility that doesn't meet certain accessibility standards, but it's our position within the county structure that all of the facilities that the county is recommending people to go to meet accessibility requirements. So you will see on a city's website or in their social media posts a site that may not be represented on.
Now to be placed in the speaking queue. Moderator, when we have the first remote speaker, please.
Our first participant is Roy Humphreys. Please make sure your phone is unmuted and speak directly into it. You may begin.
Oh yes, thanks to Supervisor Solis on the bus comment, and notice that Supervisors Kanabi, Hahn, and Solis and their staff know Roy Humphreys' role in the Heights efforts to bring Foothill Transit from brain-dead management to transportation a la Japan, Singapore, China, and even France. Check it out, whether it's buses or metro, it's awesome and clean. And also, when it rains on both sides of the street as well as the sunshine. And we're still waiting for the Walnut Yard to clean the filth at the Rite Aid bus stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Gabriela Eddy. Please make sure your phone is...
Field intervention teams that respond in person to people experiencing a mental health crisis and with unarmed mental health professionals. I want to start by talking about the progress that LA County has made over the last few years. When I first introduced this motion in 2020 to look into coordinating alternative crisis response, DMH had fewer than 30 psychiatric mobile response teams for the entire county, and they only operated during business hours. On average, people had to wait over 7 hours for a response from one of these teams. And since then, our Department of Mental Health and this board have greatly expanded and enhanced our system. We now have a total of 70 field intervention teams that operate 24/7 all across the county. This means that no matter where you are, what time it is, and what insurance you have, you can call and request a field intervention team if someone is having a mental health crisis. These teams can be reached by calling our Department of Mental Health helpline, or if you have a local area code, you can even call 988 and request a team. This expansion has not been easy. It's come at the same time that we faced a global pandemic and national mental health clinician shortage. To expand our teams, we had to get creative, and then we implemented various types of bonuses, and we conducted same-day hiring fairs.
This directive also directs updates to the county's fire code to ensure the department can utilize its authority to protect our communities and develop a mechanism for cost recovery. There is more work that must be done from an enforcement perspective, but we must activate all those levers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. This motion, as you indicated, will be placed on our October 8th, 2024 agenda. And I just wanted to share that Mike Aguilera-Gaudet, who's on my team, and his husband, Jeremy, welcomed their new baby, Augie, since we have started this meeting. So I just wanted to congratulate them. We will now hear from members of the public wishing to address the board on all remaining items not held by supervisors and general public comment. For members of the public on the telephone, please press 1 and 0 now to comment on these items. You must indicate the agenda item numbers that you wish to address, including general public comment, in order for us to allocate the appropriate amount of time. Executive Officer, please read the call-in information and call those members of the public who've signed up to speak on the remaining items and general public comment.
Members of the public, you will have up to 3 minutes to address the board on all remaining items and general public comment.
Will the following individuals please come forward? Moderator, and we have the first remote speaker, please.
Our first participant is Roy Humphreys. Please make sure your phone is unmuted and speak directly into it. You may begin.
Okay, thank you. As to racism, I refer you to Dr. Thomas Sowell, he's black, Candace Owens, she's black, and Charles Clerk, he's white, and Sheriff David Clerk, he's black. The fact in the United States, Asians, including Indians, have the highest median income and are a minority, which was excluded from the affirmative action and had to go to Supreme Court to breach the institutional racism. My relative will never get over having, when applying for a grant under the affirmative action for minorities, was told, honey, you're just not dark enough. She's Chinese. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Large-scale organic waste dumping mixed with construction and demolition debris and other harmful contaminants. I previously authored motions asking our county departments and law enforcement partners to develop long-term solutions to put an end to this conduct. The illegal dumping of mulch and other waste in the Antelope Valley is not just a problem of scattered trash or improperly placed debris. It's an affront to the health, safety, and dignity of the people who call this place home. This is not just an environmental issue, it's an issue of environmental justice. For too long, these communities have been treated as a dumping ground. Large, illegal stockpiles of mulch and hazardous construction waste continue to be dumped in the Antelope Valley, creating serious hazards that threaten the air residents breathe and the water that they drink. These stockpiles are tinder boxes at risk of catching on fire and spreading toxins into the air, threatening the homes, families, and livelihoods of all who live nearby. The contaminated mulch piles also create conditions that could lead to toxic runoff leaching into the soil, contaminating local water sources. The culprits behind this dumping act with impunity, disregarding the long-term damage they cause to our community's health and well-being. These dangers disproportionately impact the most vulnerable members of our community, the elderly, children, and those with pre-existing health conditions. It is time for accountability. We must demand stricter regulations, better enforcement, stronger deterrence, and increased penalties for those who illegally dump waste in our community. We must prioritize this issue as a county and work with the state to ensure that this environmental damage is stopped. Therefore, I'm going to read an motion for the October 8th, 2024 board meeting. I therefore move that the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors direct County Council in coordination with the Los Angeles County Fire Department, Department of Public Health, Department of Public Works, and the Department of Regional Planning to develop local ordinance to regulate land application of mulch. This includes requirements related to zoning, maximum duration of storage, maximum height of storage piles, and other requirements related to physical contamination. This directive also directs updates to the county's fire code to ensure the department can utilize its authority to protect our communities and develop a mechanism for cost recovery. There is more work that must be done from an enforcement perspective, but we must activate all those levers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. This motion, as you indicated, will be placed on our October 8th, 2024 agenda. And I just wanted to share that Mike Aguilera Gaudet, who's on my team, and his husband, Jeremy, welcomed the rest of the board on all remaining items not held by supervisors and general public comment. For members of the public on the telephone, please press 1 then 0 now to comment on these items. You must indicate the agenda item numbers that you wish to address, including general.
Will the following individuals please come forward? Yvonne Sandoval, Eddie Torres. Remote speaker, please.
Our first participant is Roy Humphreys. Please make sure your phone is unmuted and speak directly into it. You may begin.
Okay, thank you. As to racism, I refer you to Dr. Thomas Sowell, he's black, Candace Owens, she's black, and Charles Clark, he's white, and Sheriff David Clark, he's black. The fact in the United States, Asians, including Indians, have the highest median income and are a minority, which was excluded from the affirmative action and had to go to Supreme Court to breach the institutional racism. My relative will never get over having, when applying for a grant under the affirmative action for minorities, was told, honey, you're just not dark enough. She's Chinese. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Lynn Plombeck. Please make sure your phone is unmuted and speak directly into it. You may begin.
Hi, Lynn Plombeck, Santa Clarita Organization for Planning and the Environment, speaking on item 13 and item 31, and to do with oaks. And after your discussion about tree canopy, I know you all supported these two proposals, so I want to thank you.
Participant is Lynn Plombeck. Please make sure your phone is unmuted and speak directly into it. You may begin.
Hi, Lynn Plombeck, Santa Clarita Organization for Planning and the Environment, speaking on item 13 and item 31.